What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Modern Founders Podcast. Today, we are sitting down with Courtney and Slava, the husband and wife founders behind Puptique, a pet hospitality brand built around retail, membership, events, and community. But this conversation isn't just about their business. It's about how early stage founders can build a business people actually feel connected to. Courtney and Slava share how they found a gap in a massive market, why they chose to build a brand around experience instead of convenience, and how they're turning customers into loyal members and brand ambassadors. We also get into what it takes to stand out in a crowded market, create more value than you take, and build something people want to come back to again and again. So if you're an early stage entrepreneur trying to build a brand, create real customer loyalty, or turn your idea into something people actually care about, this episode is for you. And one more thing, if you could hit that like and subscribe down below, that would be greatly appreciated. We're coming out with new episodes every Monday. Big thanks to everyone that subscribes, and let's get right into it. So building a brand as a husband and wife duo adds a unique layer to the founder journey. I could only imagine. How did you define your personal boundaries to ensure that you're building a business that could scale without sacrificing y'all's personal relationship?
Well, I think at the end of the day, personal boundaries, especially if you're dealing with the spouse or family members, they're always going to get blurred. Doesn't matter how much you try to create those. I think it's understanding, especially in a family relationship or a spousal type of business, who's doing what and who's responsible for what. And you can't have two heads on a snake, so to speak, right? And sometimes, like I said, the boundaries will cross where somebody wants to take something one direction or a different direction. But then if there's clarity overall where you're going from one person and everyone else is collaborating, or it could be a CEO, president, whatever it might be, I think that's the best way. But you'll never have personal, professional boundaries, quote unquote, with family members or a spouse. I think it's a myth.
Right. So where do y'all kind of see yourself in the day-to-day operations to ensure that, you're not having the two heads on the snake, like you said?
Yeah, Courtney is really focused on the marketing, PR, operational aspect of it, driving that. It's not behind the scenes, it's in front, like we're doing today with the podcast. And my side of it is really more on just the development component of it, just driving the brand forward. I mean, we're both doing it in essence, but just really being clear. She's acting as right now as a president role, which is more operationally driven, KPI, OKR driven, and I'm leading the CEO side of it.
So how's that going for y'all?
Yeah. What was that?
How's that going? How's that going for y'all?
It's working well because I think we're using each other's strengths, not weaknesses. And I think that's really the most important thing that we're doing right now is just where are we the strongest at? Let's use our energy and, capital towards that.
Is that how it's always been for y'all, or has it been a switch kind of as you've gotten more in the business?
Yeah, I think early on it was both of us doing pretty much the same thing and working together in that capacity. But as we're expanding, the roles have definitely changed and shifted towards one person focusing more on the sales and the franchise sales, as well as the day-to-day operations overall, and someone focusing on more so myself on the marketing, the PR, as well as on the store level operations. So I think that's just been both, because we still have our physical location that's our own, and then there's also the franchise aspect. So on the franchise aspect is where our roles kind of split, but on the store level for our one location, that's where we're working hand in hand more on, and our roles are combined in that sense.
I see. No, that makes sense. So in an era where, most entrepreneurs are pushed towards a lean kind of e-commerce style business, you chose a high touch kind of boutique retail model. What was the strategic reasoning behind choosing a physical, like membership-based club as opposed to a traditional, like online pet store?
Well, one of the things I think is really important, and when we're creating a new category within a really massive category, e-commerce has been around for a while, brick and mortar has been around for a while, but repositioning that, and we don't consider ourselves as a retail, we consider ourselves as a community activator in those communities. We do it through retail memberships, events, and we're a hospitality brand, and that's the way we look at it. For us, are the retail components so important because it's an activation point? As AI accelerates and everyone's going towards, like you said, automation, lean teams, yes, it's important. But at the same time, the human touch, high touch, is going to be more important now and in the future than ever before because it's going to be so sterile on the AI side, and everyone's going to get, you could plug in to Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and it'll give you the similar responses back because the parameters are similar, right? So everyone's working off the same information. So how can you take, and we use AI in a lot of stuff, but it's not the forefront. It's just literally a crutch for us to accelerate and move faster. And I think, yeah, that's really how, when we're looking at lean teams, is how can we take a person who understands hospitality and use technology to really aid and touch more people in the community through the physical store, through, like I mentioned, the events, through the experiences, entertainment. So we consider ourselves, if you look at Disney, the best comparison, micro Disney within a store. And we have a lot of cool stuff, touch points within the store that you could do, from the world's first dog bar, literally a dog bar that's made for dogs. We serve beer, wine, pup cups, non-alcoholic. We have a photo op that you could take with your dog. You get a Polaroid. You could take it home with you. We have an entire ball pit. We have over 70 events that we do a year in store and out of the store for members. Creates this touch point in the community. It's an activation point and acquisition funnel from us as well. The entire flywheel effect, not just get a quick CAC, acquire the customer,
Right.
like we see with a lot of e-commerce brands or other ones. And the churn, people are falling off at the same rate. So our goal is spending a lot on the front end, which we are through our brick and mortars, to get a high lifetime value for our community activators. We don't even call them customers.
Mm.
Someone who's going to activate the community and then go and evangelize and be a brand ambassador for us.
Right. So I'm just curious, kind of, you talked about Disney. I think using like Walt Disney, for example, is super interesting. How much research did you do before starting the business to see kind of taking maybe his ideas and kind of using it in your own and spinning it to make a whole new place?
So it was like a process. It wasn't actually before we even started. When we did start it, it was actually a really fast, hey, we're going to open up a store, and we did it in 9 months.
Mm.
But it was after we opened that inspired us to get ideas from some of the greatest brands. And we went to so many different retail dog stores, dog boutiques, other pet stores. We walked into Apple, a bunch of different categories outside of Apple. We went to Disneyland, and we experienced all of that, the Ritz-Carlton, and got all of those experiences, from the hospitality to the customer service to the experience, when the smells, the physical touch, how they have everything displayed, and all the senses that are derived from that. And we applied it to Puptique. So over the last 2.5 years, we've taken all these ideas and all these experiences that we've experienced to bring it now into the pet space. And it's developing every single time. So every time we go into a place where we experience something so great, like Disneyland, we just went there in January, and we realized, wow, this is something that we can continue to grow on and learn from, because they're a growing brand that continues to not only target the toddlers, but also the adults and senior citizens, right? Which is the same thing that we want to
Well,
replicate at
I
Puptique.
think to really hone in on something that's really important, 2016, when Shopify really hit the marketplace for small businesses, where e-commerce was there before with Amazon and other brands, it really accelerated. So we as a nation are always consumers, but we went to overconsumption. We, instead of commuting and hospitality, we exchanged it for convenience. And COVID accelerated even further, right? You can't leave, you can't
Right.
do so. This whole notion, you're seeing a shakeout of actual brands that have people that want to buy from them and feel that they're connected to their brand. And that's why you're seeing retail being repositioned into being activators in their community, right? And it's a place where people meet, connect, and feel something, instead of the transactional side. As the financial markets have dried up with interest rates, the customer acquisition costs have gone up, and the service isn't there now. If you want to get something online, you have to pay to get a return and so forth. So the brands are winning and are going to continue to win in the future, is where you have this K-shaped economy for service. You're going to have extremely convenient going this way down, which is your Dollar Tree, Amazon, Walmart.
Right.
And then the other side, you're going to have extremely high touch, personalized feel, hospitality, Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, brands that people will come in, they come in for the experience, and they leave with the merchandise because they want to, not because they need to. So, and by the way, the lower end economy, not lower end, the K-shaped economy going down, that's going to be more of a convenience driven economy. You're not going to go to
Right.
Amazon to buy, I don't know, something, maybe you want a gift for somebody else. If you want to buy a gift, you might go somewhere more special with a little bit more nostalgia in it. So that's where the economy's shaping up when we're seeing it from massive brands across the board to smaller brands like ourselves. I think retail's just being repositioned. It's not dying the way people see it. It's being used for different reasons, activation points and acquisition.
Right. No, that's super interesting. So do you think right now, because I also agree, people do think that retail's drying up in a sense, but the way you make it sound is it's just repositioning. And if you were to start a more hospitality driven retail store, you actually have a chance of growing the business to something that has a
Well, I'll give
chance.
you an example that everyone's familiar with. This is on a bigger scale brand that's most recent. Gap in 2023 and 2024, they should on paper be accelerating because COVID really helped them. They got cheap money and everything else. But in essence, they were losing $1 billion a year. Recently, when they brought their new CEO in, all they did, they didn't even create necessarily better hospitality or anything else. All they did is collaborate with people, with their customers, Gen Z and millennials, and those collabs by themselves where people saw, look, these celebrities or these people that are wearing these clothing, they're just like us. They're having fun, they're dancing, whatever it might be. And that, by the way, is connecting with your customers, understanding what they want, and then bringing them to the stores. Obviously, they have different omni channels, online and everything else, but now Gap is $1 billion in the black, right, on the profit side. So that's just the most recent example. But all stores, what they've lost in general because of over consumerism is the high touch. In the 90s, you could watch Circuit City, Best Buy, anywhere you walk. You get great service, great hospitality, and people biologically, we're all humans connected to one another. AI will never
Right.
replace that. We want that. We want somebody to say hello, welcome in, appreciate
Right.
it. If you are looking for something, guiding them. And then using the tech side is really to accelerate forward, to gather information, to find what they're looking for if need be, and deliver. If you don't have it in store, it could be delivered through the e-commerce technology side. So brick and mortar retail is being repositioned for entertainment and experiences more so than ever. And those are the brands that are going to win now and in the future.
Interesting. So how did you think you learned what you're talking about? Was it through getting out and talking to the customers, or was it kind of just
Well,
trial and error?
there's a book called Play Bigger, and they talk about the category leaders in each space and understanding that whoever leads that space, Salesforce did it, software's dead, we're going to do the cloud base and everything else. Apple did it with their phones where it's simplifying, making it easy. But the same thing for us, we said, look, the space that we're in is a massive space, right? You're talking about red ocean of $157 billion in the US alone, 300 billion worldwide. It's a massive pet space. And for us, it said, well, if we come into this space and just do what everyone else is doing, purely transactional, you come in, if you think about it with your pet, you order it from Chewy or Amazon or your Petco. There's very little touch of experience, but the companion that you have is your pet. It's emotional, purely emotional.
Right.
There's a huge disconnect how we're serving the customer, which is the owner with their dog or their cat or any other pet, to what the real relationship is. It's the same thing, if you came in, if you're married, if you're about to get married, and I mean, people do it all the time, and they're like, hey, let's just go to Vegas or let's do a courthouse wedding. Yes, that's great, but it's not as special if you both planned it out, look at it, get a venue and everything else, because there's an emotional aspect of it involved. And it goes back to retail. It goes back to what we're doing. I think brands that get it will be highly transactional, which they're going to go on the lower shape economy, or brands that have high touch point, they're going to have a higher flywheel effect where they're going to attract more customers and have a higher lifetime value for those customers.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And I mean, as you know, I think kind of to pivot, we live in a digital first world, as you know, and people are still very lonely. They're getting more lonely and more lonely. So I'm curious, what was the biggest hurdle you identified in the current market when it came to creating a genuine place where people can spend their time and money?
I think at the end of the day, people want to be connected. They just don't know, but it makes a difference when you have that physical conversation, when you're in person, when you're able to spend time with your dog, because it's something physical, right? Every day you're spending time with your dog, but now you're in a place where it's like-minded individuals, people with the same values, and that's what really makes the difference in terms of having people shift from their daily lives of being behind their phone, looking through Instagram or sitting on their couch. Now they have a place to go to with their dog, with strangers that literally become friends because of this. place and this hub, and it just takes away from the fact that they're on social media or they're scrolling behind their phone or they're at home. Now they have a place. And sometimes we have people come and visit us every single day at the pup bar. They bring their dog, and we have people that come once a week for an event or for their shopping routine. But Puptique specifically is not meant for just one visit. It's actually meant to be a part of your daily routine with your dog.
But I also think not just for younger generations, which is Gen Z and early millennial, we are going through it. This is why I love AI coming in. We're going through a digital detox as
Mm,
consumers, right? You've seen people go back
100%.
to flip phones. They're still going to use technology, but for not the same reasons, to get experiences. I don't care who you are, through Instagram, through VR. And this is why Metaverse didn't work, right? They invested $80 billion, is because at the end of the day, we're biologically connected to one another. We want to share experiences. We want to help one another. Yes, technology will aid that, but technology is not on the forefront. And I think that's where a lot of people are now waking up and saying, well, no, I want to be part of a run club. I want to be part of, this yoga studio, or I want to be part of this health gym, whatever it might be, which is popping up, across the nation at a rapid rate. So this part of community is more critical now than ever before as technology accelerates.
No, and would you say that's kind of the gap you were trying to fill with the business that y'all started?
100%. And that's where everything in our business is transactional, majority of the time. Very low hospitality, very low experience or entertainment base.
That makes
Specifically in
sense.
our
And
industry. In our business, that's where we
Yeah.
shifted. So
So that was the gap to fill.
mhm.
And kind of
right.
going back to the Disney example, Disney created an entire flywheel effect around their business. Now more so than ever. I mean, Disney Plus is an activation point for them, acquisition
Yeah,
channel. And they're actually marketing to adults, not to the kids. The kids are there.
right.
If the adult approves, the adult will schedule their Disneyland adventures and everything and so forth. So, and that's why you see so much backlash if there's anything controversial with Disney, where stock
Yeah.
goes down because attendance goes down.
Right, right.
But their whole acquisition funnel and the flywheel starts from Disney Plus to merchandise to parks. The list goes on and on and on.
Interesting. So talking about building flywheels, how have y'all gone about building a flywheel like that?
So one of our biggest is from on the commerce side, incorporating memberships into retail. It's nothing new, but that membership is actually for us a break even on the marketing side from $1 to $1. For an example, our membership is $250 a year. You get $20 a month using credits. You get 25% off and access to 70 clubs or 70 events. So that by itself, it's a break even throughout the year.
Right.
But people become ambassadors. They become excited about the brand and tell other people and refer to come in to shop to become members as well. So that's one flywheel effect that we created, is through the memberships. The second one is creating events and life-changing type of memories that are being captured through those events. And the other thing is creating an atmosphere where it's not just photogenic from a aesthetic standpoint, which is important. We have that in the store. When people come in, it's like they've never seen before. The design element where they're taking pictures, they're sharing with their friends, they're posting on their socials and everything else.
I see.
So those are just elements, and they're from different channels, the flywheel effect that's coming through.
Right.
Those are just a couple. There's a bunch of little micro flywheels that we have in place, but those are just a few to get people in talking about the brand and living the brand and loving the brand.
Interesting. So for a founder, for an early stage founder out there trying to find their own gap in the market, how do you distinguish between a temporary like trend as opposed to a deep like problem that people actually will pay to solve?
Well, it goes back to, it's really interesting. The book I mentioned earlier, and a lot of that stuff I got from too is, I think it's called, I forget the name, Play Bigger, Play Larger, but
Hmm.
creating a problem in the marketplace and communicating the problem and having the consumer come to the conclusion what the solution is. So I'll give you an example. Microsoft, when they launched their iPad version, right, it completely flopped because they said, we're going to implement Windows, we're going to implement this, this, and this. Apple did it differently. They said, what can people use that's not a phone, that's not a computer, something in between? And they communicated this problem saying, hey, we have something on the go for you. We're not saying Apple is the way to do it. We have something easy, quick, and accessible that's a hybrid between both. So I think the biggest thing to identify is literally figure out what a problem is, then create a solution for it in the marketplace. So for us, the problem was there wasn't a place where you could celebrate the bond you have with your dog through experiences, through celebrations, through events. And we said, what can we bridge that gap? Everything's transactional. I said, let's use the brick and mortar as an activation point, acquisition funnel to create a completely different category, dog hospitality category in a massive space. So any entrepreneur that's starting off is really first figure out a niche within a big total addressable
Right.
market. Then figure out where your serviceable market is and figure out what the problem you're going to solve for them and then present that problem to the marketplace. If you present solutions, people kind of turn off, right? But if you create, here's the problem, people are like, yeah, never thought about that before. That is a problem.
I
So,
see. No, that makes sense.
yeah.
Interesting. What is y'all's background before you got into this business?
Well, my background is in real estate and development and technology. So I was in franchising for about 2 years on the development side with Menchie's frozen yogurt. And we did about 200 plus locations in 2 years when I was there, which is really great to see. Then did on the construction side with a construction company, ran that for about 3 years. And then got into the technology space where we developed an app for construction estimating, a SaaS. And then we also created an app that was a live experience app. And I think that all these kind of led to this point. The live experiences app where say you're sitting there and you want to request something in Los Angeles, say the crypto arena, show me a live view of crypto arena now. You can make the request, whatever you're willing to pay for that in Orlando. It could be $1, $2, $3, and they'll ping anybody in that location that has that and they'll get the notifications. They'll record that for you and you'll have real time footage for that. So that's kind of my background and how we arrived here.
And my background is completely different. So I started in fitness and then I did corporate wellness and then I transitioned into more of the marketing background. So marketing and sales memberships, which led us to here. And one day decided, hey, let's start something as a hobby. So Puptique originally was a hobby that was just based and created because of our dog. And it was focused specifically just on Japanese dog merchandise and just cute stuff because from the marketing standpoint, I thought cute stuff would be interesting in a dog niche market just for Japanese dogs. And then overnight it expanded to a whole different thing, which is what Puptique is now. So yeah, that's a little bit of our backgrounds brought us to where we're at today, but we took all the skills that we have and now we're using it as our strengths in this.
Right. So I'm just curious about this because from my perspective, I started my business on something that I just understood and kind of just went for it. And I'm curious what y'all's idea is about an early stage entrepreneur jumping into something that they know, even if they don't understand fully what it's going to take to build a business around it. Do you think that's a good idea or what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I think, look, the biggest thing in any business, and a lot of people abandon this for some reason, provide more value than you're getting back. Doesn't matter what stage you're in. If you do that, you're going to get the right customers or the right listeners, in your case, onto your channel. It might be Brian Chesky, the CEO and founder of Airbnb, said it this way. And I love this saying because I say it to our team all the time. I'd rather have 100 people that love me or listen to my podcast all the time because they'll be your super spreaders, or 1 million listeners or followers that once in a while will tune in or once in a while will do that because they're not going to be the passionate customer. So I think anyone who's starting off is provide more value than you're getting. And then that formula will switch once it's like a bank account. Once you make deposits, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to say, dang, I have all this money accumulated now and the interest has grown on that. And that's really how you create it. And it does have its own challenges attached to that and you might not see the results. But I think the biggest thing is when you're trying to grow something, you do have to be patient and you do have to water those plants, so to speak. And watering the plants is what you're doing, for example, if it's a podcast or a small business. A lot of business owners do not water their plants. That's the problem. And they expect growth to happen without learning, without failing. And if they do fail, they're like, well, this plant, I'm going to abandon this plant. And the plant's just ready to grow. And all it just needs is more water, more sunlight, and more care.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to even jump in and start something, whether it be small or something big, because there's always a misconception of what if I fail, or I don't have that business degree, or I don't have that marketing degree. I don't know what to do. But you could go get a business degree, you could get a marketing degree, you could take a bunch of classes, but none of those things teach you what you actually learn when you're actually in that role starting a business.
Right.
You should know unless you're in that position, you won't actually know the real life situations that you encounter as a business owner or starting the business.
Also, look
100%.
at this day and age where we're all at, even on this call. You could build a business now with AI much faster. You still have to be in the business involved, much faster and cost effective. I could build an entire website on Base 44, 15 minutes, legitimate,
Yeah.
that would cost 15 grand 10 years ago,
Yeah,
right? And it looks
literally.
professional, looks clean. I could get everything automated and set up, but you still have to execute on those tools. So I guess getting into a business that's setting up professionally, you could do it much faster and much cheaper than ever before. Then it goes back to, are you going to be willing to do the work consistently? The most important thing is consistently over and over. Because like I said, to start a business now, faster and cheaper than ever. But the hardest part where people are missing, they think if they have all the AI tools, it's going to grow itself.
It's like at the end of the day, do
Right.
you have the grit? The grit to
Right,
do it,
100%.
right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And as I've talked to more entrepreneurs, that keeps coming up. It's like that's what I've heard a lot of people say is the number one thing they would suggest to early stage people is, just grind through it. And you have to be able to, the consistency piece is so key. And if you don't have consistency, it's not going to come to fruition.
Well, I think we're having two camps. People think just because AI is accelerating, they don't have to do anything, right? They think, well, my agent's going to call this, that. It's like, you're missing the point is you still have to do the work. You still have to do the execution. Yes, you could do it, like I mentioned earlier, faster, quicker, and much cheaper, but you still have to do the execution portion of it.
100%. Okay, so jumping to a kind of a different point, as you said before, the Pup Plus Pass is a big part of your growth. So for founders listening who are struggling to build a subscription-based layer in their business, how do you determine what goes into your subscription to make it an easy yes for your community? And what suggestions would you have for other entrepreneurs?
I'll leave this to Courtney, but this is the way I look at it. I present it to everybody goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Provide way more value. If your customer looks at it as a cost, you already lost. If your customer looks at it as an investment, and that's what we tell our sales associates and everybody on the floor in the community, it's an investment in yourself, your community. If it's a health club, it's in your health. If it's a food membership, it's again into your health and everything else. For us, it's an investment, and the value, for example, our membership is $250 a year. You get $240 back to spend in store and online. You get 25% off and access to 70 events. So if I'm looking at that investment, even if I don't go to none of the events, even if I don't use the 25% off, it's only $10 a year. So 80 cents a month, right? So the same thing is I really encourage is when people are looking at it, don't look at it like how much money can I make from this? How much value can I provide so it becomes an investment for that consumer? Costco does a great job with that, with their memberships and everything else. So that's my encouragement is do not look as the money will come if you get the customers in to talk about your brand and push that out for you.
And I think
for
for
sure.
someone who's starting off, with their business and looking if they want to apply a membership-based model to their business, it's would you become a member of your own business? And if you say yes to that, then that's just the starting point. You have to believe in your own membership in order to sell the membership and in order to get more people part of the community, to be a part of the community to begin with. So that's a huge question that you need to ask yourself. How much do you believe in your own membership and how much do you believe in your own community? Because it starts with you as the business owner.
Right. No, that's super interesting. And that's, for me, I've never thought about it like that. I mean, obviously, I've heard before, you got to provide more value than you give. But the point about if you're not willing to buy it yourself, then nobody else is probably going to buy it as well is super interesting.
Especially if you're using the membership specifically, and that's something that Slava and I both do, is that we are members in our own business. One, because we see value in it, and two, we believe in it, but also that we have dogs and we apply the same membership to our dogs so we can talk about it and we could show the value that we get as well as the investment we've made in our dogs. And we talk about it all the time after we shop, even at our own store. Wow, that was such a good deal. Or wow, that, this is great. But it also gives us the opportunity as business owners to see where we can make improvements because we're actually using the membership so we can see there could be something that we could modify here, which we have. That's what's so great. It's not only us, but also the community that's giving feedback. And we've made so many changes along the way to accommodate the community and the membership to make sure that we are reaching our ideal customer profile and that investment is worth for the customer itself.
Right.
I think the biggest thing to take away is loyalty programs are a myth, because I'll give you an example. If you had a rewards or loyalty program, if you had more points in your Hilton or your Marriott, say, which one would you stay at? They're both free. You probably stay with the most amount of points. That's not a
Right.
loyalty, right? It's loyalty based on what they have. So for us, the reason I truly believe membership economy, another great, amazing book, goes kind of through it. Never ever do loyalty and rewards, because people don't invest anything into that. So you create loyalty through value and through investments that people make in themselves. So if it's not their idea as a customer to come join your community, it's probably not a good customer anyways, because what's going to happen is majority of companies, they service 80% of their you spend 80% of their time with majority of the lower performing customers. Or the top
Right.
performing customers want to be there. For example, us dog lovers love the membership, see as investment, are community activators. And we do have some members that something is never right for them in that membership, or something doesn't make sense, or it's always a discount. So at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with both customers, but you have to understand who your ideal customer profile is, your ICP, like they say, right? So I think not everyone's your customer, and that's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing, where people are like, I'm just going to get every customer.
And it's important that no matter who shops with us, we provide the same customer service and hospitality. That's something that, it's a part of our training. It's a part of one of our values. It's no matter if they're a member or not, we're still providing the same hospitality and level of customer service. We do go a little bit above and beyond for our top members and everything, but that's a whole different thing. But the consistency of hospitality, just like if you're walking into, a Four Seasons, it's the same greeting, it's the same level of service that you would expect going in from somewhere if you're here in California or if you're visiting one in New York.
Oh, that makes sense for sure. So we talked about this a little before, but as we know, most founders obsess over getting to a bigger scale, but the real money is in keeping the customers over long periods of time, as we talked about. How would you suggest young entrepreneurs to stop focusing on growing the scale and focus on keeping the customers around for longer periods of time?
Well, scale's built into lifetime value. So what we're seeing, and we have seen for the last 2 years, as venture capital money is going to dry up, because the venture money comes from limited partners. Those limited partners, majority of them, it's private wealth people, or they get loans, low interest, which they did before, and they would give it to these venture capitalists. Venture capitalists would invest into companies that quote unquote get scale, and they want to see 100. And those companies, instead of building actual foundations and actually something customers want to be a part of with high lifetime value, they focus on acquiring the customer through social media, whatever it might be, at a high cost. And those customers, as fast as they acquired them, left just as fast. Yes, on paper, they look, hey, this is $100 million company. It's scaling really, really, really fast. It's awesome. But they have no retention built into it, because they don't, they're servicing the venture capitalists or the investor, whoever it might be, instead of serving the customers. And you see this a lot of tech startups and regular companies, where all of a sudden they'll go, even in our space, we had a company called Bark Social, had $20 million behind them. Great company. It was scaling and everything else. It was doing beer and wine for dogs and for humans. They did a lot of events to challenge it. What happened is they closed all their doors because their investors wanted their money back, right? At the end of the day, that's what it appeared to be. So if you're looking at that with the young entrepreneurs, really focus is how to provide the best experience for the customer. If it's through a podcast, how can I make sure my listeners are getting this content quickly, easily, accessibly? If they need advice, if they need a newsletter, it's all free. Just provide as much value. Once you capture market share and you're the category leader in that space, turning on the money spigot's much easier than trying to go
100%.
find the customers, because they already trust you. Then you're the category leader and authority in that space. Like yourself, if you're a podcast for small founders starting off,
Right.
they're going to trust you and listen to you through their entire journey.
Right.
And
No,
it's also
100%. That's super
genuine
interesting.
standpoint. Like when you're genuine about something, that makes that much of a difference because people trust you from the beginning. And I think that's where we built a core foundation, specifically at Puptique, is that all of our interactions just come from a genuine standpoint. As we build the community, it comes from a retention standpoint, and more people stay with us longer. As Slava mentioned, the lifetime value of that just increases over time.
Anyone could acquire a customer now day and age. Run through digital ads, throw up, guerrilla marketing, do some discounts. This is all the time, but
Right.
it goes back to transactional. They're just acquiring a customer for the short term to appease whatever they might, whoever, if it's an investor or they need to hit their numbers. But anyone could do that nowadays. That's not the secret is retention. How can you retain that customer to shop with you or listen to your podcast 2, 3, 4, 5 times religious, whatever it might be, whatever business you're in. So that's the magic bullet.
Mm, no, that's so true. And if you, I mean, you kind of said it there, but if you had, one or two suggestions for an early stage person, what do you think it would be? Just identify and get out there and provide more value than needed?
I would say it's 3 things if you're looking at it. Find the category that you could lead and create the rules for that category. Going back to the Apple example with the iPad. For us, we're the categorical leader being Pet Retailer of the Year for pet hospitality through entertainment and experiences, and we do it through our brick and mortar, through memberships, through events, and so forth. We don't compete with Petco or Chewy on product, and we don't do grooming or do daycare. So find the category leader that you could dominate that category, whatever it might be. And 2 is always your job as entrepreneur, CEO, president, is to make sure the why you exist as a business doesn't get fuzzy. You're the non-fuzzy guy. Every single time something gets off track, you're like, we exist to serve founders and entrepreneurs about how to start the business and the challenges they have if in your space, or for us to celebrate the bond that we have with the dog, always keeping that very, very clear with people. So I think that's when you're going into it, if you're approaching it that way, it becomes much easier.
And also, if you're in a niche market like ours, our goal is to have, specifically for the members or anyone coming in, is that as soon as they interact or they walk into the doors, that one, they have that connection with us, but for the lifetime they do have that dog, that we're a part of that journey with them. So if someone's coming in with their puppy, we hope, and the average lifespan of the dog could be 10 to 12 years, that for that whole entire 12 years of their life, that we're a part of their life too. So that's something to also come from the standpoint of someone creating a membership. Hey, what is the lifetime of your member, and how can you be a part of their daily life and their daily routines?
But at first people attach dollar signs. Don't attach any dollar signs to that lifetime value or anything else. The money will come if they become customers for life. The financial aspect, they're going to trust you and everything else throughout this journey, and you're going to provide more value for them. So a lot of people is like, oh, my customer acquisition cost is $200. My lifetime value is $5,000. And this is the ratio I'm going. Important metrics, and they're critical. But if you're looking at that way, you're not going to be able to serve the customer the way they need to be, because you're always going to be focused on that metric or a metric to get back to. So, and I think
no, for sure,
we've fallen way too, all of us as business owners, fallen way too much into KPIs, metrics. Of course they're important. Of course they're critical. But if that's what you're leading with, you're going to have a hard time to really get the customer, the retention where you need it to be.
No, that's so interesting. That's so true. And that's something that not a lot of people talk about either. I mean, this whole conversation, really, I've kind of had this idea that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about business like this. I think that's super interesting.
Well, business is changing. You're seeing brands, old brands. Let's just take food, for example. Quick service restaurants, the McDonald's, the Jack in the Boxes, all these brands you're seeing in the news and sliding. People are eating there less and less. The reason being is the consumer's changing. The psychographics, how a person behaves, how they act, what's important to them, their belief systems. From Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, Boomers, their behavior patterns are changing. So if you as a brand are not adjusting to that, and consumers now have so much options available to them, people aren't spending less money with what's going on in the economy and the war. They're more mindful and thoughtful with their dollars, how they're allocating those.
Right.
If a gym membership, I'll just give you an example, I don't know, not Lifetime Fitness, but what's one of those gyms like LA Fitness, for example, that's $20 a month, or one of those that's really cheap. You come in there, you got the gym membership because you just need it and it was cheap. So when the economy gets tougher, you're probably going to cut that because you have no connection to it. Compared to maybe a gym that you're paying $100 for, where you have friendships, you could work from there. There's a place where there's value for you there. You're probably going to keep that membership. And that it might be 4 or 5x higher. I'm just bringing up memberships, gym membership, because it's the most relevant and that's the first thing people cut, right?
Yeah.
So people are more mindful with their dollars than ever before, but they're spending it with brands that they want to be a part of those communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see the same thing in like people aren't buying from Starbucks as much. They're going to niche coffee shops and
Yep.
stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're way more cognizant of where their money's actually going and what the company is doing with those dollars.
And that's why you're seeing Starbucks making the shift of trying to be your community coffee roaster, like they started the third place.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows if it'll work or not, but I mean, they had to invest $1 billion just to redirect themselves. Imagine that, $1 billion just to say we're coffee roasters and we're going to bring up carrot
Yeah.
back in. But the consumers are too smart and we have too much information available that we're not going to be like, well, this is just a marketing gimmick, right?
Right.
People are still going to drink at Starbucks, but not at the rate they used to.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody's going there every day unless they're really bought into the mission of Starbucks.
Yep.
Mhm.
And they were, 15, 20 years ago, people were. It was a place that you could really connect with one another. It was a community
Mm-hmm.
activation space.
No, for sure. That's super interesting. All right, cool. Well, I have a couple rapid fire questions for y'all that I'd like to see your answers to.
Okay.
So, what is the biggest hidden cost of scaling a business that no one talks about?
I think the biggest cost of scaling it is, how much money it's going to take, in yourself. So what I mean by that is a lot of people when they're scaling, they're doing something else because they want a safety net. So the biggest cost is a safety net is you got to decide, are you going to remove that safety net 100% or you're going to have a 50-50 split? So for example, you have your W-2 job, you're like, I want to start a business. You have to decide, and that's the biggest cost and investment that you can make.
I was going to say the same thing. Time. Time is so valuable. It's like, where are you going to spend your time? Because your time is money at that point.
Right.
That's the biggest hidden cost because it might not be immediately you have to put those dollars out, but going back to her thing, it's the time that to scale that business.
No, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. And time is, like you said, time is money. And if you have, you're transitioning from a side gig to your full entrepreneurship, you're doing it full time, it is a big leap where you might be making no money for a while. But you have to put that time in to actually scale to where you want to be, or it's not possible. Okay, cool. So what's the number one rule you have for making sure your founder stress doesn't follow you into your personal life?
I think it's finding outlets in whatever it might be on the personal side, if it's working out, if it's running, if it's a hobby, and really incorporating that as a founder, into your lifestyle, because there's no turn on or off button. I don't care who you are as a founder, but if you incorporate that into your lifestyle, for example, we have dogs. We walk our dogs 3 times a day. Those are opportunities for us to reset, to kind of get back and keep the stress levels down. So every founder that's listening, there's no such thing as like a robot. I'm on, I'm off. It doesn't work that way. So figure out things you can incorporate work. It's not balance because there's no such thing as balance into your work and your hobbies. So it's integrated perfectly.
Having an outlet. Our outlet is, so we're extreme. So we do like races or something that's also extreme on the business side. But then also if you're doing an ultra race, you're literally spending time with your spouse. In this case, we're both co-founders. So for 12 hours, going through something physically and mentally tough or a marathon, and then having to bear the same thing in business. So that's how we see it as well.
Interesting. So what do you think is the most underrated advantage a founder can cultivate today?
I think the biggest thing, the most underrated advantage is speed, right? At the end of the day, what you have the ability to make changes in real time based on market conditions compared to a mid-size or larger company where there's approvals, there's boards and things that make that direction. So for example, for us to make, and we made a pivot early on, we're going to do memberships, and we did it the next day. Right when we started. And here's how the membership, and we want to make changes. We did it the next day. Implemented, we tested the market. We didn't have to wait for approval. So for somebody, you're going to have the ability of speed, and for big, and then this is why smaller companies get acquired all the time for bigger companies, because they don't have that ability. They're like a big Titanic in there. By the time they turn, they're probably going to hit that iceberg because they weren't prepared for it.
Right. Interesting. What about you, Courtney? What do you think?
The same thing. I
Interesting.
mean, I think as far as like underrated, you're able to make decisions so much faster. Just as a founder, you could literally say yes or no to something within 1 minute.
Right.
And also not overthinking it too. I think a lot of founders early on are overthinking something, like, weighing all the pros and cons, but you don't have the luxury as a founder to do that. As an early startup founder and a small business.
And you could test stuff faster, right? You could testing in real time compared to a much larger company, like literally within minutes or hours. And then if it doesn't work, Great, you move on next thing.
Interesting. So I have one more thing just kind of off that. How do you, when you have a team, how do you make sure that the team is behind those changes when they happen so fast?
I think it goes back to this most critical thing for any business. It goes making sure you don't get fuzzy, and it's signal, not noise. So being focused, having values, people call it behaviors, core values, whatever you want to call it. We have values that we stand by, us being customer obsession, personalized and exceptional experiences, compete intensely, win, and trust and respect each other. Those 4 core values that we have, those are our guardrails. Like if you're driving down the highway, windy road, they have guardrails. Is if we start hitting those rails that says Courtney Slava team get back on the road, because it doesn't align with that. So I think going back to is always being clear what you're doing and how you're doing it, and repeating it in so many different ways and staying clear with that. I think that's the only way, by the way.
And our team knows it by heart. Our values and every decision we make, and they know if you ask them, well, they're really transparent, and they all always go back to our values. So one thing, we have weekly meetings with them and daily stand-up calls with them as well. So it's all ingrained in there, and we don't wait till let them know of a decision or anything. It's always, when we make the decision, it's communicated.
So all our decisions, I'll give you an example. If we're going through trying to work with the vendor, I'll just give you an example. One of our things is compete intensely and win. Is this vendor going to compete for us intensely and our franchise partners with the best rates or not? If the answer is no, we don't move forward with that. Or is this vendor, can we trust and respect this vendor, which is one of our core values? Or it could be an employee. Hey, if we can't have trust and respect for you, that you're going to have trust and respect for the customers, it's not a place that we see you working for with us as well, because it doesn't align with that. So I think if you're going back to then always having that being your North Star, I think that's really important. And I think a lot of people have them on a wall or have them something written down, but I think just living and breathing those, I think will allow you to get through challenging times and allow you to make really clear and concise decision as you're being the categorical leader, whatever space you decide to pursue. And I think that's really important, because you set all the rules. When you're a category leader, like we set all the rules in entertainment experiences for dogs because no one else is doing it.
Right.
People now are following, which is a great sign for us. That means there is a massive category for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Airbnb did. They just threw a bunch of mattresses down. They make all the rules now when it comes peer-to-peer home sharing and apartment sharing. So yeah, man, I think that's the biggest thing when we're looking at that is just having those values and just making decisions based on those.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate y'all for coming on. This is a great podcast, and I'm sure it'll bring a lot of value to everyone that's listening.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's a wrap for this episode of Modern Founders. A huge thank you to Courtney and Slava for coming on and sharing their story. If you want to learn more about what they're building with Puptique, all of their links will be in the description below. And if you're a business owner who knows they need to be doing more on social media but doesn't know where to start, what to post, or how to turn content into actual growth, that's exactly what we help with at my company, Mellow Ad Media. We help businesses create content, build their online presence, and develop marketing systems that generate warm leads on the internet. So if you're ready to take social media more seriously, check out the links in the description to learn more. And as always, if you got any value from this episode, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and follow Modern Founders for more conversations with entrepreneurs building real businesses in the modern era. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.